Well, it's about time we checked in on the fallout of our last B5 episode. I mean, the last new one, not Born to the Purple. The only fallout from that was Jakar's assistant tripping and falling on a knife 4 times before stumbling out an airlock. He's mellowed with age. Last time, Delenn learned of the history between Sheridan and Lockley, and she makes clear she knows, but she understands and is willing to let it go. The fact Garibaldi is literally skulking nearby says he is not. But we'll have to table that. Zack is talking with Londo about the arriving ship. Seems the Regent is not long for this world. Well, not long for this plane of existence, at least. So Londo will one day depart for Centauri Prime and never return to Babylon 5.
That's gotta be a great feeling, Emperor Malari the First.
The second.
There was one before you?
Yes, long ago. He too ended badly.
A lot of optimism for your term, huh, Londo? People of the great Centauri race, I give you my solemn vow to be, at best, mediocre. I will stumble from one self-made crisis to the next until inevitably a mob storms my palace and plants my head on a pike. Go forth with the comfort of knowing that my terrible leadership is not a bug, it's a feature. Well, somebody screwed up on an incoming transport, and eventually it ends with a collision with the doors. Another metaphor for Londo's reign, maybe? After the titles, Lockley sees what a mess this is. Going to tie this place up for a while, but there's nothing he can do but clean it up when the ship breaks. Everybody's just going to have to wait in line, it seems, except, of course, for that Psychor ship. I'm guessing they're going to insist on coming aboard first thing. There is a telepath situation, after all. I almost admire your chutzpah of stealing drugs in the middle of the day right out in the open. I wish I had half your self-confidence. She defends this when Dr. Franklin comes by. It's all earmarked for those in Down Below, and the telepaths are down below, so, it's all good.
They don't trust doctors. Besides, they prefer to be self-sufficient.
Yeah, wouldn't we all? Some of us solve that by getting a job. And some of us go on the internet and offer to dance for money. She delivers the supplies and talks with Byron about taking better care of himself. He goes into this poetic spiel about 4 lifetimes ago being a coppersmith and lying in the arms of his lover, and it'd be fine, but all this reminds me of how much it sucks that Marcus isn't here. Had a good thing going with Marcus. Byron is really, we have Marcus at home. Well, the telepaths sense the approach of bloodhound units, telepaths brought by Bester. Garibaldi finds out and has an opinion on that. But so does Lockley. That probably wasn't called for, but I think he's more surprised than put out by it. Security hauls him off to the brig. Eventually. They don't seem to really like siding against Garibaldi either. What a pity that this isn't further explored. The feud between Garibaldi and Lockley leading to factional problems in security would have added a fascinating additional dynamic to the whole situation. But for a positive change, Delenn and Jakar come by to ask Franklin to work on studying cross-species disease transmission, since that's going to be much more of an issue in this new alliance. The research on the topic is limited, so they want him to write the definitive work on the topic. Well, you don't need to twist his arm. Not unless he comes down with Pakmara Lyme disease, then it can relieve the symptoms. Lockley comes by and Sheridan lays into her for not grasping how much Bester is a beating and toss out the window coming to him. She says that while telepaths have permission to be here, they don't have immunity from prosecution, and a lot of them are wanted criminals in the eyes of EarthGov. The fundamental right to govern themselves that all Alliance Worlds has means that they can't interfere in the arrest of people within the confines of station regulations. So as long as Bester follows the law, there's no grounds to get in the way. Well, Sheridan sees the truth of that and promptly tells her Bester could take a long walk out a short airlock for all he cares. These telepaths aren't being taken. Meanwhile, Londo's ship is going to have to leave without him because of that busted dock. Still, I don't think he'd mind waiting for the next one. Zack says it looks like a bomb was hooked up to go off when a certain destination was selected. In other words, yeah, someone on Centauri Prime put the bomb there, probably to kill Londo. Or it's a very elaborate insurance scam. Lita confronts Bester when he shows up in Down Below.
Don't play games, Lita. Whether you know it or not, these people are dangerous. They're on nobody's side but their own.
He's not wrong, but then again, that also applies to the Psi Corps. Byron's faction has agreed to a limited alliance with the Alliance, and the Psi Corps cultivates alliances of its own. Alliances that can be ended if that would be preferable for them. Anyway, she's jamming them right now, but Bester sees that they have to be jammed since they can't sense anyone at all. So when they try heading through, she begins driving them back one at a time. But Bester figures that there's a limit to her power, and with Lockley now in charge, she can call on B5 security forces. But right now, Lockley's talking to Garibaldi. She explains that Bester dealt with a rogue telepath on one of her prior assignments, saving the lives of 2 of her people. She may not like or trust him, but at least he's earned some professional courtesy. As for her and Garibaldi, she's like, okay, if you'll stop trying to crawl up my asshole every 5 minutes, I'll explain what I'm doing here. She is Sheridan's first wife, for a very brief time, and while that was ancient history, she still has his complete trust. She didn't join the resistance during the war, so that means that Sheridan can bring her in as a way of reaching towards someone from the other side in order to try to help bridge the divide. But would be someone who'd still be trustworthy. But someone who is not trustworthy under these circumstances is Garibaldi. That is, if she were to let him out while Bester's still here. So he's going to have to stay put. To be fair, yeah, I wouldn't trust him if he swore in Jakar's sacred book anthology tome that he wouldn't do anything. He could promise you cut off his head if he leaves, and 5 minutes later he'll be strolling down the hall whistling the old gray mare while slapping a spanner into his palm. Well, Earth Dome has approved Bester's request for security personnel, so Lockley tells Zack to give them to him, and there's nothing Lita can do as fleeing telepaths are caught. She finds Byron, who's feeling defeatist, saying this is what he gets for trusting people.
But my people need me, and I must go to them.
I must go, my people need me. At the morning meeting, it seems that the blowed-up freighter is cleared out, but Earth Dome is not answering about Lockley trying to discuss stopping Bester from leaving with those telepaths. And Zack says the Bloodhounds have made sure to adhere perfectly to all the regs. There's no reason to say that they overstepped. So with that wrapped up, it just leaves talking to Dr. Franklin and clearing it with Lockley that it's okay for him to devote most of his time to this cross-species disease topic. But this gives her an idea.
I gotta go ruin somebody's day.
I imagine every government department says that, then spins a big wheel to see who it will be. Earlier, Jakar commented that he wished he could do more for the Alliance. So Delenn notes there is a way that he could be extremely useful. Become Londo's bodyguard. It would be a powerful symbol to have a Narn guarding a Centauri of his own free will, showing that they are working to overcome past disagreements in order to forge a new future. Plus, it'd annoy the Centauri Royal Court considerably. Some jobs are truly their own reward. Well, Lockley comes by to give Bester the bad news. Because these telepaths have been all over the place, including into the unknown space, Dr. Franklin has instructed her that they need to be screened for potentially infectious diseases before they go anywhere, and they have to go through 60 days of quarantine. Bester says all right, but Lockley needs to give her personal guarantee that the telepaths won't be allowed to run off after this. She'll even give it to him in writing.
Just keep an eye on them, Captain. Don't trust them for a second. Because sooner or later they will turn on you.
Really? They seem like such a friendly bunch. Lockley lets Byron know the score. We bought some time, but that's all we've done. After he leaves, though, Zack notes what's worrying about Byron. He's a man waiting to be a martyr, and that's not safe for anyone around him, or for those who might be in the path of his avengers. But for now, they're just pleased at the happy reunion. And in the coda, Londo grudgingly accepts the need to have Jakar as his bodyguard, and Lita goes to join Byron and friends as they all close out the episode with a big song. The end. Strange Relations is very important in that it shows that Bester has his eye on the telepaths. The telepaths have known what it's like to be hunted down on this station. Security has shown that it will capitulate to Earth Dome, and Lita has chosen to side with the telepaths. Indeed, it's very concerning, especially in light of Zack's observation about Byron and his martyr complex. Cults were particularly notable during this time frame. David Koresh, in a standoff with the federal government, ended tragically, with disagreement to this day on which side was responsible for that end. A doomsday cult in Japan also carried out a sarin gas attack on the Tokyo subway system. And around the time JMS was actually working on Season 5, Heaven's Gate's 39 members committed mass suicide, convinced that they would then ascend to an alien spaceship following the Hale-Bopp comet. Lita seems particularly susceptible to the cult of Byron. She sought meaning with the Vorlons only to be left behind. She's an outsider, lacks a social support network, and is without purpose, plus possessing incredible power she herself doesn't understand. Byron offers everything she is missing, thus giving an extremely potent weapon to his cult if it goes the way of these other tragic examples, with violence, self-destruction, or a final conflict with authorities. We'll have to see where things go in our next episode of Babylon 5.